Child Soldiers International, who campaigns against this practice. Sandra, thank you very much for being with us. In terms of what happens, in terms of the actual experience these children go through, it's incredibly difficult for most of us to imagine. Can you just talk us through a little bit of the things that you've found, the things that you've discovered in the kind of children that you've worked with?
I think firstly, one point that I'd like to make is that when children are recruited and used by armed groups, they are not merely recruited in fighting roles, which people might quickly think of, but they are recruited to perform various types of services and roles. So they could be recruited to be used as porters, as spies, for domestic and sexual purposes. And we're talking about both boys and girls. You roughly estimate that almost up to 40% of all children used and recruited by armed groups worldwide are girls.
Indeed. So in terms of the things that these children have suffered and what they've seen, getting them back towards some kind of normality must be an immensely difficult task.
Well, it is, but fortunately children are very resilient, and if they are given the right support and the right conditions to come home and to reintegrate back home, the vast majority of them will actually bounce back. But to be able to do so, we need to give them the right conditions, and this include being welcomed home by your family and your community. So meeting some friendly faces who have patience with you, who welcomes you home. And then you need to find your role and your position back into civilian life, in community, to get a sense of normalcy and structure. So this can often be given by schooling, education, for example. It's very effective in that sense.
In terms of what these children are forced to do, you outlined that many of the tasks that that fall to them are not what you might sort of see a child soldier doing in terms of fighting. But indeed, a lot of these children see things that will seriously live with them all of their lives.
Yeah, they do. Many of them suffer terrible experiences. But I think what's important to remember is that when a child comes home, if given the right conditions, if given the right support, most of them will actually recover. They will be able to live life just as their peers. Yes, they have difficult memories, but given the right support to reintegrate and recover, they will be able to continue living their lives.
As you're talking to us, Sandra, we're seeing propaganda videos from the Islamic State group. And I wonder, in terms of the scale of what you face, how big a problem do they pose? Have they posed?
Sorry, are you talking
in terms
specifically about ISIS?
Indeed, yes, indeed.
Well, it's been a huge issue in Syria, but it's not the only country where children are recruited and used, unfortunately. Last year we saw children being recruited in over 14 countries worldwide. So Syria is amongst them. Iraq, Yemen, South Sudan, Afghanistan are other countries where children are being recruited. I think ISIS is a very violent group. Everyone has seen terrible pictures from Syria. But I'd like to repeat that if children are given the proper support that they need when they come back home, which is indeed a difficulty in Syria, where we're talking about a country where the state is not present at all, and where schools have been bombed and hospitals have been bombed. But if we can provide basic services such as education, such as just some family support for children, they will recover.
That point, I think, made very, very clearly. Sandra OLSSON, thank you very much indeed. May your work continue to get through to help those children who clearly need all the support that you can give them. Sandra OLSSON of Child Soldiers.